Yeah, but in the dream, for some reason, she was only 3'7". So actually, it was really hard to kiss her.
It's the Daylight Midnight Show.
Hello and welcome. Now, fair warning, I'm just letting you know in advance, I think this could be quite a long show today. I've written a lot of stuff down, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. My brain has been very busy this week, so much so that I even considered holding some of this stuff over until next week's show so that it didn't run too long. But then I thought, no, let's be real about it. This is what I've been thinking about this week. This is what I want to talk about this week. So we'll do it this week, and then hopefully I will come up with some more stuff in time for next week's show. So we're going to start this week with some messages and observations and conversations that I've had with people about the show. Greg, well done on timings. 2 weeks running, almost exactly 10 minutes without using a timer. Yeah, I noticed that when I uploaded last week's show, that for the last 2 weeks I've pretty much got it almost bang on at 10 minutes despite not having the timer. So I don't know whether subconsciously I'm just tuning into the passing of time and making this show run at about 10 minutes. Could just be an amazing coincidence. I'm pretty sure for a fact it's not going to carry on, especially today with everything that I want to get through. Please be careful with your snowman mug. I know you're attached to it, but there's a big chip at the top and you could easily cut yourself badly. Yes, thank you. There's like a big chunk out of the top here, but running my finger along it, I can assure you it's not very sharp, so I think I'll be all right. And also I tend to drink it this way as well, so I think I'm going to be all right. But thank you for noticing and thank you for caring, and we'll talk a bit more about this mug a little bit later on. Is Claude a good name for our snowman? Now, last week I introduced you to the Daylight Midnight Snowman. And I'm not going to leave him in shot too long because the lights tend to mess up the camera and it'll look like I'm in shadow. But a suggestion has been made. Does Claude suit him? I invited you to get in contact with me and let me know what nickname you wanted him to have. Claude has been suggested. C-L-A-U-D-E. I don't know myself. I think maybe his name begins with a B. I don't know why. Maybe he's going to be Bo. Bo the Snowman. Bo the Show Snowman? Then we could write a rap about him. I don't know. But anyway, I'm not going to leave him there because, as I said, he messes up the camera. And I might retire him now anyway because we are into February now. You wouldn't believe it looking outside, but we are springing towards spring at fast rates of knots. So I might let him hibernate now until maybe the middle of November and bring him back out again. But do keep please suggesting names for him. And another question I got was, what happened to the other new mascot? Why am I introducing a new mascot when earlier in the season we had a new mascot anyway, which was the cuddly version of Pogo Dave Penguin? And thank you for the reminder, because I had forgotten. I said I was going to put him on screen for every show that we did, and then promptly forgot about him, even though he was sitting on the sofa next to me, in plain sight of me, every evening for months. I still didn't think to put him in the show. So thank you for the reminder. And I'm not sure still where to put him, because unless I sellotape him to the wall or blue tack him to the Door of Delights, I don't know how I can get him to be in shot every week. If I put him there, he's just kind of peeking over the top, unless I could perch him on the back of the chair. There we go. Let's see how that goes. There we are. I'll keep him there. Of course, as soon as I move, I'm going to knock him over, but we'll see how well that goes. So thank you for all your messages and correspondence, and do please keep making suggestions about the show, because I don't know what I'm doing from one week to the next. So let's reveal our slogan of the week then, which for this week is, reality gets very real sometimes. And I don't want to go into details, but I'm sure this is something that we have all... this paper is so cheap that I'm left with that it's falling apart as I try and take it off the door. But you know, you go through life and you get on with stuff, and all of a sudden, every so often, real life comes along and kicks you in the Jemimas. So that's what I thought would be the theme of the show this week. That would be our slogan of the week. And we would acknowledge that happening by putting it up on the Door of Delights. There we are. On to our fascinating fun fact for a Friday then. Something I didn't know 7 days ago that I've learned in the course of the week and thought I would share with you. Aardvarks can eat up to 50,000 insects in one night. Now, I like to snack, and if you put the right kind of crisps in front of me, I can go at them for hours, but 50,000 insects in one night is not a bad going at all, is it? What a diet to have. So well done to our friends, the aardvarks. Now, we move on to my week in 10 words, and I've been saying for a while I wanted it to have a theme song or some kind of introduction. I've written some lyrics, but I haven't had time to come up with any chords, but I want to debut the lyrics. So what I'm going to do is borrow the chords and tune from the Purple Card song and use it to introduce my week in 10 words. So, have I been digging a garden or maybe watching birds? Let's find out. Time for my week in 10 words. And those of you being observant and paying attention might notice that each line in that song has exactly 10 words, because it's time to reveal my week in 10 words, telling you what I've been up to since the last show, but only using exactly and no more or less than 10 words. So this week, tax return, London, family party, hearing test, interesting meeting, music. Lots of music this week. I've been playing lots of stuff and writing some new songs. I took both my sons to an open mic night and watched some other people perform, which was wonderful. And also playing a lot of music while I've been doing other stuff around the house as well. Getting into some albums that I haven't been listening to, one from 1993, one from 2002. So that's been really nice as well, just sort of to be hearing other people's work and what they've done has been very nice as well. A very music-filled week. And I mentioned the hearing test as well, in case you were a little bit worried by that. A lot of my working life, I've had to wear headphones, either working in radio or in media production or as a sound recordist. So I've had a lot of time where I've had headphones on. I've been around a lot of live, loud music as well. I used to do mobile discos and nights in clubs, lots of loud music. So I do get regular hearing tests because I know it's going to catch up with me. I'm not the shy side of 50 anymore. It's going to catch up with me eventually. And I was noticing a few things over the winter. So I had a hearing test done and apparently things are fine. So I don't need to think about that for much longer. So that's what I've been up to for the past 7 days. But what have I been thinking about? Let's find out by seeing what I've written on the purple card, which is of course now green, but does still have its own theme song, which will sound frighteningly similar to the last one. Time is like an orange or a mouldy tangerine. Let's see what I've written on the card that's green. So no explanation, we all know what it is now. I just scribble stuff down and then I bring it along and we talk about it on a Friday. So this week, point number 1, we need a word that means the following: the awful feeling of knowing you thought of something great but being unable to recall what it was. Now this happens to me a lot, and it's been happening to me increasingly, and it happened this week. The example this week was that I was cooking myself some tea, fish, in case you're interested, and I thought of a really funny line that I wanted to put in something, because occasionally I can come up with funny stuff. And I got on with what I was doing. I sat down and ate my tea and I watched some stuff on YouTube. And then later on I went, oh, I need to write down that funny line. And I could not remember one word of it. I could remember the exact details of what was happening when I thought of it, what I was thinking about before I thought of it, but the word itself, the line itself, disappeared completely. So I tried not to think about it. I thought I'll do that thing where you stop thinking about it and then it'll bubble up again. Got up the next morning, really tried hard, and it had gone. I could remember the exact time I thought of it, where I was standing, how much of the fish had been cooked already. I just could not recall any of it. So again, I've lost that. And I think this happens to a lot of people, and we need a word that describes it. Maybe we'll just call it a Gregory. There you go, because it happens to me a lot. So if it happens to you, you can go, oh, I had one of those Gregory moments today. Point number 2, procrastination podcast, question mark. I was having a cup of tea with a friend of mine and he said, what have you got on for the rest of the month? And I said, well, by the end of Feb, I really want to finish this school play that I've been writing. And he said, yeah, is this the one you've been talking about for about 5 months? And I had to say, yes, it is, because I keep getting distracted because procrastination is a big part of my life. And I thought maybe we could do a procrastination podcast to help other people who go through this stuff. And just because I thought it would be a nice title, the Powles I couldn't say it, but it's a nice title, the Powles Procrastination Podcast. But then I looked up and there's quite a lot actually of that kind of thing. But it's still an idea that we could do. Point number 3, it's not possible to imitate a snore. I was in London last week. I went to a big comedy gig and I stayed over with a friend of mine and we shared a hotel room. And he snored loudly, a lot. And it was a horrible noise. And I was trying to describe it to people and I realised you can't really imitate a real snore. We all think we can, but you make that noise that sounds like a pregnant pig, you know. That's the description that we do. But the actual noise that people make when they're lying down and their body's relaxed and it's coming from somewhere very deep in the chest, I mean, it's a very unique, horrible, animalistic sound. And I don't think it's possible to imitate it just standing up and thinking about it. You have to be in that kind of prone position. So I did almost get distracted with looking up the science behind the noise that you actually make and where snores came from. But I thought, don't do that, just mention it and then forget about it. So that's my thought. It's not really possible to imitate a genuine snore. Point number 4 this week. Parental and paternal are very apt anagrams. And I wondered, is there a word for this? Because paternal and parental, anagrams of each other, very similar words in meaning, there must be a word in a language somewhere that describes anagrams that are apt to each other. But again, I don't really want to do the research on it, but I thought if there isn't a word for that, we should make one up. And finally, we're getting there. Point number 5. This is just the way my brain has been working this week. I've been noticing lots of weird patterns in words and stuff. And I had to write down the word arrival and the word rivalry very close to each other. And I thought, hey, there's a lot of overlapping letters in those words, 5 to be exact. So you could put them together and come up with the word arrivalry, which sounds like it should be a real word, right? So I thought, what definition could we come up with that the word arrivalry might mean? So this is my offering. The conflict that arises when two people get to the last car park space at the same time. That is the word arrivalry, and that is everything on the green card. But that's not everything that I'm going to read out, because if you remember last week when I was talking about my mug, I did say to you and confess that I disappeared down this research rabbit hole. And was looking up a lot about why we use mugs in this shape. Has anyone ever come up with a better design? And the conclusion is, no, we really haven't. But I found out all these facts about the history of mugs and why they're called them and how long they've been called them for. So I decided to share some of it with you. I've narrowed it down to my favourite 8. I've done like a great 8 list of facts about mugs that I'll share with you now just to get it out of my head, and then I can move on and obsess about something else. So, here we go. Point number 1. To be called a mug, it has to have one handle on one side, otherwise it is classed as a beaker. Number 2, if it comes with a saucer, it automatically becomes a cup, even if it's a mug on its own. I don't know who makes these rules up, but apparently that is an official thing. At some point, and there is no standardised specific point as such, a mug becomes a tankard, especially if you use it to serve beer. Now, I looked up, the mugs traditionally are typically classed as holding up to 350 millilitres of liquid. If it's under 250 millilitres, it's a cup. If it's between 250 and 350, it's a mug. And I know this is quite a big mug, so I measured it, and this, my Christmas mug, holds 450 millimetres. So it's getting very, very close to being a tankard, because I think if you're hitting half a litre or more, you haven't got a mug anymore, you've got a tankard. So I don't think this should be my Christmas mug anymore, or my winter mug, as I called it last week. It needs to be a tankard. But it did say that it's normally one that holds beer, and I don't drink beer, I drink tea, so I'll call it my tea tankard. So from now on, this is going to be called my tea tankard, although you probably won't see it much more anymore, because I'm going to pack it away with the other Christmas stuff. I digress. Point number 4. The bottoms are not flat to reduce the thermal contact with the surface below, which is why they leave the mark of a ring. I'd never considered this, but you put something down and it leaves a ring, and it's because the bottom is automatically concave. It's manufactured that way deliberately, and I'd never thought about that, but it's to do with keeping the heat in so the hot liquid remains hot longer, and it stops it causing a mark on the table by being flat and all the heat going through the bottom of the mug, which I think is ingenious. And I was going to look up the science of it, and again I had to just rein myself in and go, no, concentrate on what you're doing. Let's go back to mugs. It's thought that the first mug was made of bone. This is thought to have been about 12,000 years ago. Shortly after that they started being made of wood. The first mug with a distinct handle, I asked about this, and I wanted to know, so I looked it up. The first mug with a distinct handle is made of clay, and it dates to about 7,000 years ago. This is around about the time that pottery and ceramics started arriving. We were making stuff out of clays, and the potter's wheel was being invented. And the history of pottery and the potter's wheel is very, very fascinating. And again, I lost several hours going down that road, but I managed to eventually drag myself back. But I might do a pottery facts special in the future. Number 7, the first use of the word mug to mean an actual mug was in 1664. And finally, from my research, speaking mathematically, a mug is homeomorphic to a donut, as one of the shapes can be made into the other simply by deforming it and reshaping it without making any physical changes such as cuts or breaks. Now, I don't know why you would want to do this. I don't know how you would do it with melting it, but you can. So you can use this as the center of the donut, and by reshaping the shape of the mug into the shape of a donut, you can transform one into the other without having to do any cuts or physical changes to it. There's a whole study of things like this, and if you want to look it up, it's called topology. Topology, the branch of mathematics that deals with that kind of stuff. That's one road that I didn't drift down. and I've written a reminder down there to do my best tastes lists, which I still haven't done. But there you go. I'm going to stop thinking about mugs now. I'm going to accept that mugs are the way they are for a reason, and that reason is historically accurate, that we've been doing this for thousands of years. Greg's not going to come up with some brilliant idea for a better way to create a mug, so just use the ones we have and stop thinking about it. Thank you for your help with this therapeutic catharsis that I've gone through with mugs. So, interactive Greg and Nori, no takers for chapter 8, so if you want to decide what chapter 8 of the story will be, please get in contact with me. I'm not going to lie and make one up. No one sent one in, so we're going to leave that for this week. So let's move on to our choices by chance then. What will I be wearing next week? We use the rotating randomness of the coloured cube and then ally that to the Outfit Roulette motherboard, and we start with purple. So next week I will be wearing my pink shark t-shirt, which I'm very happy about. Over the top of that, whatever is in column blue, which will be this black jacket once again, and to accessorise all that, we will wear whatever is in column white, and column white is a scarf. So next week, pink shark t-shirt, black jacket with a scarf over the top. Will my hair be up or down? Okay, I can do this without dropping it. The Crynal coin toss, you flick it, you catch it, you put it on the back of your hand, and then you show it to the camera. And hopefully you can see that is heads. Head is for head of hair, so my hair will be flowing down. I have no idea how long this has been, but thank you for sticking with me until the end, and thank you for letting me waffle all that stuff out of my head, share it with you, and I can get rid of it and find something else to get distracted by. I will see you next week, and who knows what the show will involve then. Have a great 7 days.